20% of the human population operates with a fundamentally different neurological baseline. While the average brain filters out ambient noise to conserve energy, a specific subset of individuals processes every microexpression, every shift in vocal tone, and every environmental anomaly in high definition. It operates like a biological advantage, but there is an immense cognitive overhead to monitoring a landscape that does not actually require it. The exhaustion is not from doing too much. It is from a sensory threshold that, well, actually, the threshold is not the problem. The lack of a filtration protocol is. You do not just see the people around you. You feel the invisible architecture of their expectations. It is 9:14 a.m. A routine project meeting is starting. A colleague shifts their weight away from the table. The manager hesitates for a fraction of a second before speaking. The ambient hum of the air conditioning suddenly feels abrasive. There is a tight, humming vibration at the base of your neck. You log the data points. The meeting continues. You do not name the tension. You just carry it for the rest of the day. This level of intake is often misclassified as generalized anxiety. In my experience, it acts more like a data processing bottleneck. You walk into a room, and before anyone says hello, you have already mapped the hierarchy, the unspoken friction between two coworkers and the mood of the person standing near the door. You are running a sophisticated telemetry system, and there is a specific cost to this that nobody talks about, which we will get to in a minute. But first, look at the mechanism. I was looking into how sensory intake functions, and the work on sensory processing sensitivity points at something that shifted my perspective. What the evidence seems to indicate, without being absolute about it, is that the ventrolateral prefrontal cortex in highly observant people is pulling down raw, unspoken data points continuously, like a high-altitude satellite mapping a continent, which, if you have been carrying this trait, might explain a very specific kind of burnout. Not the fatigue of a busy schedule, the metabolic cost of seeing absolutely everything, all the time without a break. An intelligence agency collapses if it collects massive amounts of raw data without a filtration protocol. Right now, the nervous system is running a massive collection operation without a filter. It treats a slight change in a text message with the exact same physiological priority as a physical emergency. Every piece of input is flagged as critical. But here is the paradox. The observation is what causes the overload, yet you keep executing it because it yields the results you want. You outmaneuver people because you possess the data they missed. It is 4:30 p.m. You are staring at a blank screen. You have not typed a word in 10 minutes because you are processing the emotional state of 14 different people you interacted with today. The calendar is full. Someone just asked you for one more favor. You said sure. You do not know why. And then the day ends. You go home, you open a spreadsheet, and nothing happens. It is just a Tuesday. The pattern of hypervigilance was likely built by early environments where noticing the subtle shifts in a room kept things stable. That was an intelligent response to a volatile dynamic. It kept you secure when the variables were unpredictable. But the environment is not here anymore. You are. And part of you already knows the difference between then and now. I keep coming back to this. The exhaustion isn't just a data management failure. It is an identity mechanism. For most people I have observed carrying this, the overwhelm traces back to one missing piece. You haven't established a filter because somewhere along the line, you decided that being surprised was the exact same thing as being in danger. You aren't absorbing everything because you have to. You are doing it because you believe not knowing is a luxury you haven't earned. That is an observation. That is a refusal to put down the shield. This isn't happening in a war room. This is happening while you are waiting for the microwave to finish heating up your lunch. In a corporate theater where everyone is distracted, genuine observation is the ultimate asymmetric advantage. To maintain this precision without drowning, you have to adopt a specific cognitive stance. You put yourself in their framework. You recognize that every action has multiple facets, and unless there is concrete, undeniable evidence of negative intent, you refuse to assign malice. You are gathering neutral intelligence. You stop taking the data personally. If a client is abrupt, the untrained mind assumes rejection. The observant mind registers that the client's breathing is shallow, indicating external stress. You do not absorb the stress. You simply log the variable. The objective is to transition from passive absorption to active filtering. In my experience, passive absorption tends to leave you at the mercy of your environment. Active filtering is what shifts the power dynamic. It puts you back in the driver's seat of your own sensory apparatus. You establish priority intelligence requirements. If an intercepted data point does not answer a predetermined strategic question, it is classified as noise. You enter a networking event. Your requirement for the next hour is identify the decision maker for the new project. You notice a colleague's subtle sigh across the room. Does it answer the requirement? No, drop it. You notice the catering staff rushing. Does it answer the requirement? No, drop it. This is the process of normalization. You train the brain to treat the overwhelming flood of data as ordinary, unremarkable background static. You stop assigning weight to every anomaly. The goal is to let the brain accept the influx of information as completely normal, stripping away the shock value. Once the data is normalized, the sheer volume stops feeling like a threat. It becomes scenery. You are the handler. I have suggested this framework to people. It does not always work perfectly on the first attempt. Sometimes the noise still leaks through, and you find yourself analyzing a tone of voice that does not actually matter. You might catch yourself decoding a text message that was just poorly punctuated, but the direction tends to hold. The pattern was built by circumstances. It is maintained by habit. Habits can be examined when you are ready to look at them. You remember what I said at the beginning about the tight vibration at the base of your neck. This is where that starts to quiet down. If there is someone in your life that this describes, not you specifically, but someone else, you can send it without an explanation. They will know. You will likely walk into a room soon and feel the familiar rush of 1,000 unspoken details flooding your system. Because knowing a concept and living it are two entirely separate realities. The hardware will always pull the data. But I keep wondering, what would it feel like, specifically, to stand in the center of a chaotic room and decide, consciously, that you only need to know one thing? The mechanism is still running. You just have to decide who it works for.